Ladies and gentlemen, Frank Luntz and Words That Work 2018.
We'll get out of your way.
You're back again. Isn't this like your third year? You're supposed to be in combat. You're here in LA. You're supposed to be killing people. There's something wrong with the. I want the military out in places where you're deployed. Beverly Hills is not a dangerous place. So if you guys who are standing over there, if you can come on up. If you got a seat that's open next to you, raise your hands. If you have a seat that's open next to you, raise your hands. And if not, for those people who are coming in, if you can just kind of move to the sides. So, shh. By the way, we've got seats over here. So if you guys are looking for a seat, who's sitting here?
Right here.
Oh. So I always like to do this. I always like to put you in charge. I have 4 videos, and you have to choose the 2 that you want to see. These are all testing, and we're going to actually examine 4 interesting moments in current American history. You can choose James Comey on 60 Minutes, and we'll take a look at what the public agreed with and disagreed and what they believed. You can choose The Angry Voter, which is something we just shot for ABC News that appeared on Sunday, and you'll see some of the 5 or 6 interesting speeches, including George Carlin, the late George Carlin, and how the public reacted to him. You can choose Mark Zuckerberg and how he did before Congress, and I'll give you spoiler alert, he sucked. And I hope he's not a sponsor of this, because if he is, I'm fired. Or you can choose Stormy Daniels and the other one whose name I have forgotten. What's her name? McDougal? You can choose Stormy Daniels and McDougal. And just remember that no one in your family is watching you, so you can vote in whatever way you really want to. So by a show of hands, actually no, we're going to do it by applause. You get to choose, you only choose one, and I'm going to choose the 2 top ones to show you. Who chooses James Comey? Who chooses The Angry Voter? Okay, so Comey's 1, The Angry Voter's 2. Who chooses Mark Zuckerberg? Who chooses Stormy Daniels? You're sick. I just want you to know this. It is really great to know that at the Milken Institute, the top 1/100th of 1% are into porn. Yeah. Thank you for being here, by the way. Now I'm intimidated. Okay, so we're going to do Stormy Daniels. We were dropping that first. Then okay, that means we're going to do Comey and Daniels, and we're going to start with Comey because I know that that's pulled up. Look, we have to do one more thing with you. I have a political presentation and a business presentation. Both of them are language. Both of them are brand new. You have to choose which one of those 2 do you want. We can talk about politics, the language of politics. We can talk about the language of business. And business also includes social responsibility. Who wants the language of politics? Who wants the language of business? Business. Okay, so you'll get your political fix from the video, and you'll get the business stuff after. So if you can pull up the James Comey video. I'm in a relatively good mood because I didn't think this room was going to be filled. But don't mistake that for what's happening in the country today. And it's happening everywhere. It doesn't matter what state you're in. It doesn't matter what your ideology is. It doesn't matter where you work or how you live. We are so angry with each other. We are so disrespectful with each other. And this is one of the things that I've noticed, by the way. There's only one segment of society that I see that still upholds the idea of dignity and civility, and that's our people in uniform. And I want to thank you guys for being here. And you guys always sit up front. You're like the opposite, and I'm Jewish, but you're the opposite of Christians. Because you don't sit in the back of the pew, you're right up front, but do me a favor, you have no tonal capability, so don't sing if there's anything that comes up. And I do want to tell you my favorite polling question of all time. We asked 1,000 women, would you have relations with Bill Clinton if you could? 21% said never again. I just want to make sure the Milken people are smiling at that. And by the way, just to keep it fair and unbiased and all that, all 3 of Donald Trump's wives are immigrants, which is proof that there are some jobs only an immigrant will do. And I've been told, just so you know, I've been told you cannot tell political jokes here, that we have now become so sensitive and so angry that Will Rogers or Mark Twain, Mort Saul, all the great political comedians, you can't do it anymore. So I can't tell you that Bernie Sanders is so old it takes him an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes. I can't tell you that his favorite painting is The Last Supper. He's the second waiter from the left. I'm specifically, Mike said, you cannot tell them that the only time Bernie Sanders doesn't have to pee is when he's peeing. No, I can't. I still can't tell them that. That's it? Okay. What you're going to see is called instant response. The red line represents Republicans. The green line represents Democrats. People hold a device about the size of a remote control, and they turn it up or down based on whether they believe and based on whether they agree. The higher the lines go, the more favorable the reactions. The lower the lines go, the more that they don't trust it. Comey was very divisive, as you would expect, but there were moments when he did well among both Democrats and Republicans, and there are moments when he made a really, really bad mistake. I'm only showing you about 4 minutes of it, but I want to do each clip and explain to you because it'll help you in your communication. And I also want to emphasize, every one of these that I do is a dialogue. So I'm going to stop and take questions all the way through this. Just keep your questions short so I can get through a lot of material. So let's show the very first Comey clip.
I've never said I was a victim.
Wrong one. That is not James Comey. Comey does not have a Woman's Act. There we go.
I think I was home that night.
And the first states are in, so let's get right to it.
You didn't vote? No.
Why not?
I'm the director of the FBI. I'm trying to be outside of politics, and that I shouldn't be choosing between the candidates.
Look at that, George.
It was the first time.
Pause it. Pause it. You're going to pause it between each clip. So he said he thinks he was at home. How many of you in this room know where you were the night that Donald Trump was elected? Raise your hands. Let me do it the other way. How many of you don't remember where you were the night that Trump was elected? One person over there, ma'am, get off the opioids. You seriously don't remember where you were that night? I'm going to be on this side of the room for the rest of this presentation. When he said that, he lost his credibility. And that was very early in the interview. Because we all know where we were if we're alive when Kennedy was assassinated. Go back to Pearl Harbor. The Kennedy assassination, landing on the moon, and 9/11. These are events that we all share together. And so when he says, I'm not sure where I was, I think I was at home, that was very harmful to him and it hurt his credibility. Let's see the next clip.
Where were you as the returns were coming in?
I think I was home that night.
And the first states are in, so let's get right to it.
You didn't vote? No.
Why not?
I'm the director of the FBI. I'm trying to be outside of politics, and that I shouldn't be choosing between the candidates.
Look at that, George.
Okay, here it comes.
It was the first time you met Donald Trump. What was your impression?
He had impressively coiffed hair that looks to be all his. I stared at it pretty closely, and my reaction was, must take a lot of time in the morning. His tie was too long, as it always is. He looked slightly orange up close with small white half moons under his eyes, which I assume are from tanning goggles.
Pause it. Why are you talking about the way Donald Trump looks? If you want to be credible, you never succeed by talking about how someone's face is or how tall they are, or the fact I come walking up here and the first thing I hear is that's the Luntz guy from Fox. He doesn't look nearly as fat in person as he does on television. She's the one who said it. I don't hold it against her. I'm not outing her for being mean and cruel and all. I don't know why he would respond to that question, but he did. And all that does is it proves to Republicans that he has it out for Donald Trump. That's what that does. You notice the Democrats loved it because they want to make fun of him. They don't care. Think about it. Never attack someone's appearance, particularly in 2018. Americans will not tolerate it. Next clip.
And the final straw, Lynch's meeting on an airport tarmac with President Bill Clinton.
I decided I have to step, as much as I like her, I have to step away from her.
Do you see that red line?
The American people, the FBI's work separately.
Believing the credibility of the Justice Department was at stake, he made a dramatic and unprecedented move, calling the press conference without telling his boss what he would say.
Both sides like this.
James Comey is about to give a statement to the press.
I'm here to give you an update on the FBI's investigation of Secretary Clinton's use of personal email system.
Your critics say this is where your ego got the best of you. This was your original sin.
So if it was about ego, why would I step out from the organization and get shot 1,000 times? I actually thought, as bad as this would be for me personally, this is my obligation to protect the FBI and the Justice Department. Given all that had gone on, the Attorney General of the United States could not credibly announce this result. And if she did, it would do corrosive damage to the institutions of justice.
All he has to do is speak, and Trump voters dial him down. And I make this point because we have lost the capability of seeing the truth. We judge people not based on what they say, but based on who they voted for or what their tribe is. And then we make the decision whether or not we believe him or her. Every time Comey spoke in this interview, Republicans came down. The only time that they came up is when you heard an announcer, an unseen person, talking about the negative things that Comey had done. Your credibility is everything. It is not about brand, it is about reputation. And once your reputation is destroyed in this environment, you cannot win it back. And I can't emphasize that enough. Brand is what other people say about you. Brand is what you say about yourself. Reputation is what other people say about you. And his reputation now is strictly partisan. So even if he's telling the truth, half of America won't believe him. I'm going to show you 2 more clips from him. Next.
Can you assure people that the Obama Justice Department was not protecting Hillary Clinton?
Yes, the FBI drove this investigation, and we did it in a competent and independent way. I would bet my life on that.
The response from the Trump campaign was immediate and explosive.
I always felt that Hillary Clinton would escape criminal charges for her dangerous and illegal behavior because I always knew that our system is in fact rigged. It's totally rigged. Lock her up. That's right.
So I guess Trump now just sent the Air Force to come in. So all it takes is a word. All it takes is a single visual. We are so quick to judge, particularly in politics, and that I have 3 recommendations to elected officials now. Number 1 is do not answer the question quickly. They want you to ponder it. They want you to think about it. If you answer absolutely immediately, it means your answer is rehearsed, fake, and inauthentic. Slow it down. Number 2 is acknowledge either the difficulty, acknowledge that there are 2 sides, acknowledge something that demonstrates humility. And this is something our president just does not do. And he would have a higher favorability rating if he did. The idea that you don't know everything, the idea, Trump's made the comment that his presidency up to now is an A+. If I had said anything like that as a child, my mother would have hit me. Nothing's an A+. And number 3, it's not just how you open, it's how you close. It's how you wrap everything up. And I don't think that they spend enough time analyzing that. I'm going to show you one more Comey clip.
What was the rest of the table top right?
was him talking almost the entire time. So it would be monologue in this direction, monologue in that direction, monologue in a different direction. On and on and on and on and on. I never assaulted these women. I never made fun of a reporter. I don't remember! Constant series of assertions about the inauguration crowd.
This crowd was massive. Look how far back it goes.
His inauguration crowd was bigger than that of Barack Obama's first inauguration. That's just not true. That's not a perspective. That's not a view. That's just a lie. And yet he would say it.
Pause it.
Everyone agrees. Everyone says. Everyone believes.
So you're listening. Are you thinking, President?
When he says that's just not true, the Republican line still came down. Why? Because there are millions of Trump voters who believe that his crowd was greater than Barack Obama's crowd. And this is my fear. Even if I smile and crack a joke, you should know that when we don't even share the same facts, then this country is in deep, deep trouble. And you could see the difference. I was there on the 20th, and I was there for Barack Obama's inauguration on 2009, so I saw it. And I came on the 21st to give you the other perspective. On January 21st, I saw the Women's March, and there were hundreds of thousands of people carrying signs that you would not read to your children. They were so offensive. And the language that they used and the pictures that they drew, and I won't even say the words that were written on those signs because you in this room would be offended and you would tell Mike not to have me back. And these signs weren't being carried necessarily by the women, they were being carried very often by their daughters. And we're actually teaching our children this kind of ugly, abusive, vicious rhetoric. I never hear it from you guys, but I hear it from the rest of us, and it's frightening. So before I go to the next one, which I can't believe I'm going to show you, any question, I can take 2 questions about the language of James Comey, or what's going on. Anyone got anything? Going once? Yes. Actually, repeat the question.
Do you find that the lines separating, is the rapidity with which they separate faster now than it used to be? And what do you attribute that to?
It is much faster than it used to be. It is very hard to find language that actually works on both sides. And it's because we simply have so demonized and denounced our opponents that anything that they might say is automatically wrong. I know that there are a lot of people in this room that don't like Donald Trump. He has done some good. There are specific areas of accomplishment that he deserves credit for. But most people who did not vote for him in this room would not give him that credit. The very fact that they see him speaking, they'll react negatively. And the same thing with Hillary Clinton. And I don't know how to repair it. That's my challenge, is I haven't figured out how to bring people together, which is why Schumer and McCarthy should have been on the same stage at the same time addressing the same issues. That's the only way that we're going to solve this, is when you get Republicans and Democrats to be willing to be held accountable at the same time. But it didn't happen here, and so I'm afraid it's not going to happen in Washington. One more question? All the way over there. You got to shout it out, though.
Is establishing credibility with both Democrats and Republicans in the current political climate a viable political strategy? Or is it better to establish credibility with your base, operate off that exclusively, and hope that carries you through?
If you're running for governor of, let's say, Florida, for example, trying to appeal to both sides is impossible. It cannot happen. I'm racking my brain thinking of what political figure could actually get away with it, could actually do it. And I don't know anyone who could. That said, we have to do it. We have to find someone who can do it. Because otherwise, if we keep this current polarization, and it is that strong, then there is no hope for the country eventually coming together, unless we have another 9/11. And I do not wish that on anybody. If you want to get elected, go to your base. If you want to do right by this country, go to the center. Okay, let's do the next one. What's interesting about Stormy Daniels, she was believed, McDougal was not. And Stormy Daniels was believed because of how she opens her interview, or at least how CBS showed the interview. Because in the end, no one trusts anyone if they claim outright that they're a victim. Because then they think you're trying to earn sympathy, or they think that you are being less than candid. She did very well, and I'm going to show you why. Let's play the first segment.
A lot of people are using you for a lot of different agendas.
They're trying to. Like, oh, Stormy Daniels comes out, #MeToo. This is not a Me Too. I was not a victim. I've never said I was a victim. I think trying to use me to further someone else's agenda does horrible damage to people who are true victims.
Pause it. What does it say about this country when a porn star has more credibility than an FBI director? That's what you guys are defending. I hope you're proud of that. Watch how she communicates what she says about the encounter. And the other thing that I find very funny is as she's answering the questions, look at Anderson Cooper's face. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't know how to react. Let's take a look.
How was the conversation?
It started off all about him, just talking about himself. And he's like, have you seen my new magazine?
Showing his own picture on the cover of the magazine.
Right. And so I was like, does this normally work for you? And he looked very taken back, like he didn't really understand what I was saying. Like, this is, talking about yourself normally work? And I was like, someone should take that magazine and spank you with it. And I'll never forget the look on his face.
Pause it.
What was the...
Did you ever think that we'd be discussing spanking at the Milken Institute? Notice what she said there, that all he did is talk about himself. Everyone believes it. Is there anyone who doesn't think that when Donald Trump is done talking about himself, he continues talking about himself? So as she's explaining what happened, she's building her credibility. And I'm thinking, as I'm telling you this, that this is going into an archival library that he can see. It has been nice knowing you all. Let's continue.
I don't think anyone's ever spoken to him like that, especially, a young woman who looked like me. And I said, give me that. I turned to him going, you wouldn't. Hand it over. And so he did. I was like, turn around, drop him.
You told Donald Trump to turn around and take off his pants.
Look at his face.
And did he?
Yes. So he turned around and pulled his pants down. He had underwear on and stuff, and I just gave him a couple slaps.
This was done in a joking manner.
Yes.
You know that Anderson Cooper is visualizing this. I just wonder what's going through his head at that moment as he's saying this. I want to show you one more clip. And by the way, it's funny. It is funny. But it's pretty tragic when you think about it, that this is the President of the United States having to explain what he was doing. Okay, he wasn't president at the time, but still, this is it's voyeuristic, but it is what we are talking about. One more clip. Please show it.
Melania Trump had recently given birth to a son just a few months before. Did you mention his wife or child at all?
I asked, and he brushed it aside and said, oh, yeah, don't worry about that. We have separate rooms and stuff.
Did you two go out for dinner that night?
No.
You had dinner in the room?
Yes.
What happened next?
I asked him if I could use his restroom, and he said yes. It's through the bedroom. You'll see it. So I excused myself, and I went to the restroom. I was in there for a little bit and came out, and he was sitting, on the edge of the bed when I walked out. Perched.
And when you saw that, what went through your mind?
I realized exactly what I'd gotten myself into. And I was like, here we go. And I just felt like maybe it was I had it coming for making a bad decision, for going to someone's room alone. And I just heard the voice and you put yourself in a bad situation and bad things happen. So you deserve this.
And you had sex with him?
Yeah.
You were 27, he was 60. Were you physically attracted to him?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Did you want to have sex with him?
No. But I didn't say no. I'm not a victim. I'm not.
It was entirely consensual.
Oh, yes. Yes.
You work in an industry.
We're not going to show her. I actually believe that the part that Donald Trump hates the most is when she said that she wasn't physically attracted to him. Anything I can answer? Do you have a couple questions on her and how she communicated? Yes.
I just wonder where the independents are. We see GOP and Dems.
So what we do, because the truth is that there aren't that many independents anymore, there are very few people who genuinely split their ticket. They'll pick, your Republican will pick a couple Democrats, a Democrat will pick a couple Republicans, but in the end, very, very few people vote 50-50, exactly half. It was at this conference and I was talking to someone about ticket splitting, and this woman asserted to me that she was a ticket splitter and she voted for both Republicans and Democrats. I asked her 3 questions, and then I said, did you vote for Barack Obama both times? Yes. Did you vote for John Kerry? Yes. Did you vote for Al Gore? Yeah. And I had to go back to 1988, was the first time that actually had voted for a Republican, even though she says that she goes back and forth. That's why I don't have independents. And I want you to see the difference between Republicans and Democrats. But good question. One more? Seeing that there is none, let's go to the PowerPoint. So I'm going to walk you through some of the language that we've learned and some of the visuals for business. Most of this is brand new. Most of this comes from research of 2018. Once again, if you have a question or comment, I want you to raise your hands at that moment and I will address it. And then I'm going to keep 10 minutes open at the very end to answer any questions about what's going on. First, does the frog live or die? How many of you think the frog lives? How many of you think the frog dies? You're the most pessimistic group of people. If you think the frog lives, stand up. Only if you think the frog lives. If you've seen this slide before and you know what I'm going to say, you have to sit down. Okay, those of you standing, you are correct. And I'm grateful that you're correct. You look really, really cold, by the way. I actually want them to turn the temperature down. Don't sit down. If you think the frog lives and you don't know why does the frog... So you're correct. Everyone standing is correct. Why does the frog live?
He just jumps out.
Doesn't jump fast enough. Now you can sit down. Why does the frog live? And shout it out, because you're never going to get to everybody.
I think it's got to be a symbiotic relationship.
You think it's a symbiotic relationship?
Yeah.
That's against the law. Sit down. You can't even spell symbiotic. Why does the frog live? Okay, we already know that's wrong, so let's try again. Down, come on. You're milking people here, so I expect you to get it. Why does the frog live? I can't hear you.
Something looks strange with the alligator.
Something looks strange with the alligator? Maybe, but that's not right. Down. Why does the frog live?
It's a poisonous frog.
Doesn't matter, the alligator can still eat it. Down. And you're not even from America, so don't get up again. Why does the frog live?
Alligators, the way they snap, it's not ready to snap from that animal.
That animal would be dead like that. Down. Why does the frog live?
The alligator takes the frog in the water.
The alligator takes the frog under the water. That's kind of kinky. Down. Why does the frog live? Because if he wanted him dead, he'd be dead. Have you been in the military before? You should enlist. Down. Why does the alligator live? I'm sorry, why does the frog live? Because the alligator's dead. Have you ever seen this before? You've never met me before? No. I don't know you? No. She's correct. You win $1,000 from Mike Milken for getting that question correct. Make sure that you tell him when you go up to collect it that Conrad, just say Conrad says I won $1,000 from you. And you know why I do this? Because it doesn't matter what the frog does. It matters whether the frog lives or dies is not under the control of the frog, it's under the control of the alligator. It's not what you say, it's what people hear. I took off my tie. I had it on earlier today. I don't wear a sport coat. I don't want to be dressed like you. I want to have your money. I don't want to be dressed like you. You always have to think of how people hear you and how they react to you. And it may not always be pleasant. But it's one of the reasons why I never get up on the stage. Those of you who've seen me for 10 years know how much I hate being up there. Because I want to be among the people who I'm trying to convince. So think about that in terms of communication. We did that already. I'm going to show you numbers behind all of this. So we asked the question, how do you get trust? And the number one answer right now is to listen. Nobody feels heard. They do not feel heard in terms of politics. They do not feel heard in terms of corporate communication. They feel like people don't care about them and that they're not listening. You demonstrate that you hear your consumers, that you hear your employees. You have to prove it. But if they believe that you're listening to them, they're going to give you so much more credit, and you're going to be able to sell more stuff for them. And by the way, your employees aren't going to leave if they think that you're listening to them. I need this room to stop talking about economic growth, because economic growth is for MIT and University of Chicago and Stanford. The average American, when they hear economic growth, assumes that that's profits for huge global corporations, and that's what matters on Wall Street. I need you to talk about a healthy economy, healthy schools, healthy families, healthy working environment. Take that word healthy and make that part of your communication in everything that you do. Because that's, to the public, they can see it, they can feel it. It matters to them. Growth is about economics. A healthy economy is about them. It's about everyone. Every time I do this, I get asked a question. Is there like a model for communication? Is there some sort of formula? And there kind of is. And it's, to simplify it, it's why, therefore, so that. And what's interesting is that you are most likely to get a positive reaction out of people if you spend more time explaining the problem than you do explaining the solution. And the reason why is that the public needs to know that you understand it, and they need to know that you empathize. Why our schools are in crisis, why people don't eat fast food anymore. You explain the why behind it, and then they're willing to listen to you and trust you with a therefore, which is the solution itself. And in fact, the solution is so unimportant that it is better for you to spend time on the so that. That's the impact. That's what happens if you make these changes, or you do the reforms, or you sell the products. 50% explains the problem, 20% explains the solution, and 30% explains the impact. It's not that it is not written in stone, but that is the closest formula I can give you in the business community, or frankly in politics, for you to have the strongest impact on the people that you want to influence. The other thing is that they really are looking for individualize, personalize, and humanize. I'm going to take this to healthcare as an example. The best healthcare language you could have, my mission, is to provide what every American deserves. The quality and control you want, the affordability you need. It's the choice and control you want, the affordability you need, and the quality you deserve. Want, need, deserve. I can explain the entire healthcare plan in 20 words that way. Everyone's got wants, needs, and what they should be getting. And that is the best formula for simplifying what you do and how you do it. If I had more time, I actually would figure out which person in this room really understands the psyche of the human being. I don't. So we asked a simple question: what do you want more of that you don't have enough of? Men choose money. Women choose time. Millennials choose work-life balance. And seniors choose fewer hassles and no worries. So talk to them in the way that matters to them. Connect to them in the attributes that they're looking for. It's not to say that women don't want money. It's not to say that older people don't want a better work-life balance. But millennials, who are my millennials in here? Raise your hands. Okay, there are a few of you. Notice the millennials are all sitting in the back of the room, which is where you belong, by the way. come on. They come to work late. They want to leave early. Try to get them to do anything on a Saturday. They're all focused on where they're going skiing or where they're going bungee jumping, and I keep hoping that the rope breaks. This generation is so different than the generation that you represent. And they may eventually get to the success that you have had. But the commitment that they have is very different. And I have to tell you something. I actually like those Parkland kids because they're marching and they don't know what the outcome will be, but they believe that they can make a difference. And how cool is that, that finally the next generation thinks that they can have an impact? That'll keep them involved, I hope, and so maybe they'll have other attributes that matter to them. But this is the most important slide in this entire presentation. I always promise you a new set of words. Here it is. And I'm going to do a few of these with you right now. And I'm going to need you for a microphone. So, imagine life at perfection. This is imagine, the most powerful word in the English language. Every time I see an ad of some company, like imagine driving 100 miles an hour down the highway, just when I use the word imagine, you stop hearing my voice and you hear yours. You stop seeing the things I'm talking about and you think of the things that matter to you. So, I have to have someone to do it. I'm going to have you do it. Stand up. If you can give her a microphone. I want you to imagine life at perfection. Where are you? Who are you with? And what are you doing? So first thing, imagine life. By the way, for those of you in financial services, this is the single 3 most important questions you can ask. I don't care when they say, what's your goal? They give you some crap answer about, I want to be financially independent. That's not really their goal. This is their goal. Imagine life at perfection. Where are you?
Jerusalem.
You're in Jerusalem. Where? Really?
Yeah.
I've never had anyone give that answer before. And now I don't know where to go from there. Are you in West Jerusalem? I should not do that. I'm not going to start a political incident right now. Okay, so you're in Jerusalem. Who are you with?
My family, my children and husband.
Your children and husband. Are there any parents there?
My mother.
She is with you?
Oh, you mean living there or with me in this ideal?
In this ideal world.
My mother.
Is that okay with your husband?
Yes, yes.
Okay, you stalled there for a while. Is there something you want to tell us?
No.
Okay, and your kids are there too? Okay, so your mom, you, your husband, and your kids. In life of perfection, what are you doing in Jerusalem?
Doing the holy walk and exposing this beautiful journey with my children.
So it's like a historic thing. Have you done that yet?
Yes.
So
well, myself.
But not with the family?
Right.
How old are your kids?
Almost 17 and 14.
What are you waiting for? I want you to leave here right now. Are there any travel agents in this room? I now know what matters to her. I now understand, and every time that I'm going to see her, I'm going to ask her, have you taken your kids to Jerusalem? And every time I do that, we're going to have a special bond, and so I'm going to be able to sell her tons of stuff she doesn't need. This is communication. This is understanding what matters to people. Actually, let me do a couple more here. Inclusion. How many corporate people do we have here? Raise your hands. Stop talking about diversity. Because diversity means I'm going to take one of these guys in the green uniforms, one of the guys in the black uniforms, and one of the guys in the blue uniforms, and everyone else is cut out. What does inclusion mean? All of us. It's why Bono created a program called One. One people, one future, one hope. The problem is that you then have to subvert your own beliefs into that one. If you use the word together, it's all of us, all of our beliefs. It's additive. Inclusion is a few people at a time. One is, that's diversity. Inclusion, this is what happens when you do 2 panels and this is the 3rd panel. My brain is absolutely scrambled. I should have stopped off in Colorado. Is anyone here from Colorado? Do you have anyone here from Colorado? You're from Colorado? Did you bring the stuff with you? Because I need it right now. I can buy it in LA?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you know that?
Economic research.
Did you bring some with you? No? Did your wife bring some with you?
I don't think so.
No? You are his wife, right? You know, look, the woman he was with last night was not you, so I just... So please, it's inclusion rather than diversity. A couple more is up here. A mission is what a corporate mission is. A commitment is you personally. A mission explains why you exist. A commitment is what you are about, what you do. If you give me your commitment, that's your reputation. And I would never have a CEO letter, for those of you who work for large corporations, from this point forward. A letter from the CEO. It should be my commitment. And the CEO would then describe what their commitment is. Below, at the bottom, independently certified. There are no more used car dealerships. Everything is, the Honda independently certified cars. They're certifying that the car was beat to hell before you bought it. But because you get the certification, you trust it. Two more, fact-based. Why do we talk about facts? Because evidence, and this whole evidence-based, there's evidence for the prosecution, evidence for the defense. Where are my lawyers here? No lawyers in this room. I have never delivered a speech to about 250 people and there are no lawyers. I am in heaven. You're a lawyer? Get out. Do you know why? Recovering, I've heard that before. Do you know why I love Dick Cheney? He could have shot the dog, he could have shot the truck, he shot the lawyer. And he got the lawyer to apologize for being shot. So, a fact, other than what the Trump White House has said, a fact is a fact. And it's something that hopefully we can agree on. Facts are so much more powerful than evidence. Last one is integrity, because it's the attribute that the public wants more from you all, but integrity is not good enough. Fierce integrity means that even when times are tough, you're going to be honest with them. You're going to tell the truth. Integrity comes and goes. Fierce integrity is 100% of the time. Any questions about these words before I go on, or any of this before I go on? Nothing. Am I boring you? No. I always get questions, so this is the lawyer. Go ahead.
So one of the words up there, fact-based. And I was sitting here wondering, well, how does that jive with fake news, which is, you know, the mantra of today's age, and how does that go together?
Perfect. It's the perfect fit, actually. Fact-based is what people want. Fake news is exactly what they don't want. And so it's the negative. If a fact-based approach is positive, fake news is the negative. It's a mirror image. But there's something that we want more than facts when it comes to news. And for those of you in journalism or media or writing, even more important than facts, the truth with a capital T. That's what they don't think they're getting it right now. They don't think they get it from anyone. It's one of the reasons why we have a lower level of trust in every institution with the exception of the military. One more. Yes.
Thank you. Do you think there's any truth to the old saying, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are? So for example, the commentary you made on the prior page about diversity and inclusion, I tend not to agree with the comment on diversity, but that's because of who I am. So I'm wondering if you could comment on the correlation between the response to people have to those words and who they are.
And I'll give you a little bit of data to kind of back you up, but not entirely, which is we looked at it ethnically, and the white population inclusion beats diversity by 3 to 1. People of color, and I slowed down because I'm thinking, how am I going to communicate this? Because I don't want to get it wrong. People of color, 2 to 1, prefer inclusion to diversity. So if you're of color, you're more likely to see diversity as a higher priority, but still, by 2 to 1, they want inclusion because they're afraid that with diversity, they won't be included, that they'll only pick a few people. That's how that's how it's defined in society. And by the way, the spread is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. One more about the language? Anyone? This is coming off. Okay, for those of you who talk about capitalism, stop. How many of you in this room consider yourselves capitalists? Raise your hands. If you're a capitalist. I'm going to ask one more time because I'm really shocked about the response. Take a look, and I know that there's a camera around here somewhere. And I don't mean it that way. I don't mean to out you for not being a capitalist. I just want people to see this. At a Milken conference, How many of you believe, and get him off his phone so he participates, how many of you call yourselves a capitalist? Raise your hands. Okay, who does not consider yourself a capitalist? Raise your hands. So we got all these people whose hands aren't up, so you're just not participating. Military guys, take them out. This is what Bernie Sanders has done to this country. Among 18 to 29-year-olds, 58% now believe that socialism is a better form of economics for America than capitalism. And 64% of 18 to 29-year-olds believe that corporate America is what's wrong with the country. Every time I hear the phrase crony capitalism, I tell the person, stop using that language because you're undermining. People don't hear the word capitalism, they hear the word crony, and so they don't like the economic system. They tend to equate the two. These are people who are capitalists, and yet they talk about crony capitalism. They're actually undermining what they're trying to promote. It doesn't work. I want you to stop using certain language. When you talk about the bottom line, people see that as putting profits over people. Performance is the best way to communicate the idea of success. Profit means people are getting fired. Performance means everyone is benefiting from it. Instead of something being great, and I hear CEOs talk, we got great products, great service. They want reliability because they don't want it to go down. And by the way, reliability, every passing year with new technology, reliability becomes more and more important as people get more frustrated when things don't work as they are promised. And exceptional and extraordinary, the E words, are now really powerful in business communication. That is, the public wants to hear it. Where process-driven says you are about the computers and about the technology. Customer-focused says you're about the people that you serve. And you'll hear me use that phrase, like a servant's culture, because once again, that differentiates who we are and what we're about. Metric is an MIT word. Do I have anyone here who graduated from MIT? One person back, seriously? I can't hold a candle to you. I mean, it's the only school in America that I'm truly, genuinely intimidated. If someone says they're from MIT, you can have my wallet, for example. And it's not a matter of meeting expectations. You always want to exceed them. You always want to do better. A few more for you, and then I'll take another couple questions. The best way you can communicate to someone is they want to be well served. I know you hear the phrase, they're a valued customer. I can give you a 10-point advantage if you change that language to well served. For those of you responsible for corporate social responsibility or corporate reputation, even more important than the products that you sell is how you treat your people. This is why certain companies have had real trouble over the last 10 or 15 years, because they believe that the people who are in the companies do not deliver, that the people who work for the companies are disrespected and treated badly. If you want to prove that you have earned the right to serve people, you serve your employees first, even before your customers. This one's actually very important for those of you who are at the top of your profession. And by the way, for you guys down here, if you don't want to be standing, there are a few seats towards the back in the middle area so you can sit down. I feel bad for you all that you've been standing the whole time. Nobody likes a CEO, because to them, a CEO is about Wall Street. In the like about 3 rows from the back, there are a couple seats. And the reason why is that CEOs are the people who fire their employees. CEOs are the people who, when things go bad, they still make money and the employees get hurt. This is such a big spread, and I'm actually trying to encourage businesses to change the name of the person in charge, because CEO has such a negative connotation to it. And this is the language. For those of you who work for CEOs, these are the phrases, and I'll do 2 of these here, and then I'm going to stop and take questions. If you remember only one thing, I don't care what you do in this room, it's one of the greatest phrases that you could possibly use. If you remember only one thing, remember this. There is no conference in America that has a greater diversity of people and greater success stories than here at Milken. If I see you tomorrow and you come up to me and say, hey, I was at your lecture, I'm going to ask you what I said, and you're going to remember that phrase that I used. If you remember only one thing, it's a mental trigger, and it guarantees that whatever comes next stays in your head. Here's the problem. Don't say it more than once, because if you do, they'll think that you've got dementia. Number 10, let's get to work. Why are there no calls to action anymore except in politics? You have to ask people, challenge them, celebrate them to do something more. The call to action really has an impact on people because it says that they can do something to change their lives. And that should be a part of all communication. There is one more seat in the third row over there that's empty if anybody wants it. One more. I hear you, I get it, I will be your voice. That's the interactivity between you and your employees, the interactivity between you and your customers. Telling them I hear you is good. Tell them I get it is great. But if you're going to be their voice, then you're their advocate, you're supporting them, you are on their side. That's total alignment. And that is what customers and clients are looking for. You can apply this to law, you can apply this to business, and I see that I don't have much time, so I'm going to jump through this because I want to show you the visuals right there. This is the strongest visual. By the way, is anyone here from France? One person. So I'm already going to apologize to you now. I'm going to get it out of the way. I'm sorry. So you don't have to come up and yell at me. The Statue of Liberty is the #1 example by the public of what, if you ask people about American pride, American patriotism, what represents America the most of all the different monuments and museums, they choose the Statue of Liberty. Where was she made? France. And we think, and by the way, we think of her as American, right? She's got one arm up holding the torch. When I think of the French, I think something more like this. Oh, come on. I already apologized to her. It's a good joke. So I do this, and you know this because I speak all across the globe. So I'm speaking in Hong Kong, and I did that joke, and there were a couple of French people there, and they got really mad at me. So I don't want to make anyone upset. And by the way, I try to tell one joke every 5 minutes because that makes sure that the people who are falling asleep stay awake, and it keeps people off their phone. So I want them to, it's a goal. I want them to laugh. If I'm doing an hour speech, I need to have 12 different interruptions for humor. So I did the joke. They're all upset. I'm mic like this. I come off the stage, and I walk over, and I'm going to apologize because I really don't mean it, because you know what the French did? They gave us Lafayette. How old was he when he came over here? 19 years old. We may not be free today. America may not exist without Lafayette. So I'm coming over to say thank you for loaning us him and what a great hero he was. And here's the problem. They're speaking really fast to each other, and all I could think of is Peter Sellers and the Pink Panther. So I start to laugh. They're totally offended. They get up and they walk right out the center aisle. So I said the only thing that came to my mind at that moment. You see the French? They're always in retreat. The Germans thought that was the funniest thing they ever heard. And I'm Jewish, and I'm entertaining Germans, so I thought it just kind of works for everyone. By the way, is anyone here Jewish? Raise your hands if you're Jewish. Don't raise your hands. Have you not learned anything from history? Every time we've asked that question, it hasn't worked out for us. Are you a rabbi in the...
I am.
Wow, I've never... This is pretty cool.
Yeah,
now,
we've met before.
We have?
Yeah, back when you were involved in the RJC.
I have never met this man in my life. I swear, he's making it up. This is the #1 photo for football. What is that?
Greg Jennings.
Okay, I don't even know who the player is. I just want you to tell me where is it. Lambeau Leap. Everyone wants to touch a sports person. It's that physical contact that matters. Here's the problem. Do you see the guy with the green hair? Look where his elbow is. No wonder the player looks like that. I want to know who the guy with the blue, on the left-hand side with the blue, I want to know what he's grabbing, the guy with the blue hat. It's physical contact. It's fans loving the game. #1 photo that we have ever tested with football. I want to show you the best photo for moms. This is good. We asked women, what's your favorite football photo? Look at that kid's face. But here's the problem. 1/3 of women did not choose that kid's face as the reason why they love this photo. 1/3 chose Aaron Rodgers' ass. Which is why you have to do this kind of polling. So I got one more I think I want to show you. Top visual we have ever tested among millennials. There's something good that I should be optimistic about. If you're under age 30, you don't see ethnicity anymore. You don't see race. You don't see gender. Our country and all of society has changed so much that it doesn't matter. If you're over 50, with all due respect, no matter how progressive you are, you still start to judge. You still have a reaction. You don't know what ethnicity she is. You don't know how old she is. You don't know what she looks like, but you know that she loves the music. And that's what matters. This would never work with people over age 60, but it is great advertising for younger people. And I got one more. See how good you guys are. Which of these is life at perfection for those over age 50? Raise your hands if you think it's number 1. Raise your hands if you think it's number 2. 5 seconds after that picture is created, she falls and breaks her hip. I didn't push her. Who thinks it's number 3? Have you been to an airport recently? Who thinks it's number 4? Look at the hat. Who wants to be with that guy? How about number 5? So far 5's the winner. When people see number 5, their number 1 answer is mosquitoes. And how about number 6? Okay, only guys raise their hand for number 6 because this communicates that he just got divorced and he's taking the car. Here's the answer. Gotta go back. Overwhelmingly, it's number 4. They're holding hands. They're barefoot. It's companionship. It's love. It's not the stuff that matters for us. And the older that you are, the less important the stuff becomes, and the more important the companionship, the relationship is. I love doing this because I do want to challenge your expectations. I do want to challenge your assumptions. We need to fix the language in this country politically. We need to show more. We have to be able to tell jokes. We do. Not what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Those weren't jokes. That was just crude. But we have to be able to make fun of ourselves. We have to be humble enough to know that we're not perfect. We all make mistakes. And we have to be better communicators at what we do, both visually and verbally. This conference has more smart people in it than any place that I have ever been. Today, I was having lunch, and there were a group of 9 of us. And it did make me feel good that there was a molecular biologist, there was a cognitive brain person, there were surgeons in the room, people who are in the process of curing cancer. It was just the most amazing group of people. And when the desserts are filmed, one of the guys, and this guy was probably the smartest of all, 2 different PhDs, takes out his phone and takes a photograph of the cake. So it's really good to know that even the most smart people still take the dumbest photos that they're going to share with people. I thank you for coming. I hope you learned something from this. Have a good conference.